But the problem is for the Mavs that there was just no reliable second option. Where the Clippers, I mean, they still got Paul George, and whatever you want to say about him, he played good this series. Hello and welcome to the Monday, June 7th edition of the TV on Basketball Podcast with your host, TV. Hope you're having a fantastic day today, and thank you for clicking on to watch or listen to today's episode. Before we start, I do have to plug my other platforms. Remember to follow at TV on Basketball on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for updates on the podcast and for other awesome content. If you're on YouTube, remember to like, share, and subscribe. That would be highly appreciated. As well as hit the notification bell so you won't miss an episode. And for all my podcast listeners, remember to subscribe, leave a review if you're on Apple, and just show your support in any way possible on Spotify, Anchor, or Podbean. I have an awesome show lined up for you guys today, and today's a very special one because right after I finished recording my Friday episode, I realized that today's episode is going to be the 200th episode of the TV on Basketball podcast, and I just want to thank you guys for all the support you've been giving me, especially over this past year. I've been getting a lot more listeners and just made some great friends in the community, just doing a lot more stuff, doing a lot more collaborations, and just becoming more knowledge on the game of basketball and just improving myself on the daily. And this podcast has actually done a lot to help that. So thank you guys for all the support. I'm probably going to do like one last thank you at the end. But yeah, I mean, I'm really loving what I'm doing here. Although the listeners are not really super high and stuff, I really do enjoy this, and I'm here for the long haul. I'm definitely here for the long haul, and I want to continue to, grow here and just become the best person I could be, become more knowledgeable about the game, and hopefully grow this channel along with it. So yeah, thank you guys for all the support. I'm going to have an awesome show lineup for you guys today. Going to be discussing that Clippers-Mavs series, the ending, and those final two games, previewing the final series I didn't do on Friday, and just doing some quick recaps on the Nets-Bucks game and the Hawks 76ers game. And then we're going to end things off with the first round awards that I have. So, yeah, it's going to be definitely an action-filled episode. Remember to show your support in any way possible. I really do appreciate all you guys. But yeah, that's everything. Let's get right into this episode. And of course, we're going to start off with the final first-round matchup, which concluded this weekend. The LA Clippers taking on the Dallas Mavericks. And although the Clippers were down 3-2 as of last recording, they came storming back and won the series. Let's start off in Game 6 as the Clippers won 104-97. This wasn't like a crazy Luka game. And I think what this forced the Mavericks to do is kind of trust their other players. And to a certain extent, they showed up. I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr. for basically the first 42 minutes of that game was absolutely fantastic. 23 points on the day. Boban was giving them a little something. Dorian Finney-Smith was hitting a couple shots, especially late. But the story of this game, Kawhi Leonard went off, and in an elimination game, he was like, we are not losing this. And he took full advantage. 45 points in this one, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and I believe over 30 points in that second half. I mean, Kawhi Leonard was absolutely phenomenal, hitting shots from the outside, from the inside, and he was just played absolutely fantastic and just extremely efficient. 18 for 25 shooting, and what Paul George did in this game, I mean, it probably will go under the radar, but 20 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists. He was more of the facilitator, and that's a good thing. I mean, he led his team in assists, and he did all the little things that help lead this team to victory. But in this game, the Mavs, honestly, late in that game, they just went cold. They had the lead. They had some advantage there in the fourth quarter, but then they just went cold. I mean, Luka hit his shots at the end, which made his stat line look a little bit better, but he kind of struggled in this game. But at the end of the day, they couldn't pull out the win. And that really just continued the streak of, road teams just winning every single game. And Kawhi Leonard went on the road, and he absolutely dominated. An unsung hero in this one was Reggie Jackson as well. 25 points, hitting big shot after big shot. And whenever the Mavs just seemed like they were going to come back even a little bit at the end, Reggie Jackson would hit a three. and would kind of seal things. He would kind of seal things, and that's what ultimately led to their Game 6 win. And of course, like I said, the Mavs had a 3-2 series lead. They had chances to end it, but in this one, especially late, there was just no one really helping Luka. And I think Luka didn't even, like I said, he didn't even play that great. Then we go on to Game 7, which was yesterday, and the home team finally won. The LA Clippers win 126 to 111. The story of this one is just a great all-around effort from the LA Clippers. I mean, whenever they won, if you look at some of their wins, I mean, it was either a dominating Kawhi performance or a dominating Kawhi and PG performance with some little bits and pieces, helping out on the side. This was legitimately just a great all-around effort. 23 points from Marcus Morris, 28 from Kawhi, 22 from PG. Terrence Mann came off the bench and brought a lot of energy. I think he had 12 points in the first half. Luke Kennard, 11 points. I mean, he hit some timely buckets in that third quarter to help pull away from the Mavericks, because in this game the Dallas Mavericks were sticking around for like the first 2 quarters and a bit, and they eventually got the lead, I think 83 to 81. But ever since then, the Clippers just went on this massive run, and the lead, and that 2-point lead that the Mavs have, quickly turned into like an 18-point Clipper lead. And this one was just another Luka Doncic phenomenal performance. I mean, 46 points, 7 rebounds, 14 assists. He was carving up the Clippers, and everything was just going through him. But once again, that there's just no second star in that team. There's no second star in that team. The second leading scorer was Dorian Finney-Smith, who was really limited in the fourth quarter in terms of defending because he had 5 fouls. But once again, there has been no consistent second option there for Luka, and it looked like, especially late in that game, that he felt like he had to do it all, because although Porzingis had a okay stat line, 16 points, 11 rebounds, very, very underwhelming. It's just really, really tough for Luka to kind of do it all. And then you see what the Clippers got. I mean, Nick Batum hitting, just making great defensive plays, hitting shots when he needs to. Reggie Jackson, again, just back-breaking threes, especially in that fourth quarter where the Mavs turned it to a single-digit ball game. Reggie Jackson just hit some shots and was able just to pull away from the Mavericks. Marcus Morris had a great game. He had a really good last 2 games of the series. And they just got some help in this game. Like I said, the best all-around game for the Clippers. And they won big. And, this series, it really just comes down to, I mean, with the Clippers, they got the 2 stars there. Luka was probably arguably the best player in the series. I think by the end of it, you turn to Kawhi. But the problem is for the Mavs is that there was just no reliable second option. Where the Clippers, I mean, they still got Paul George. And whatever you want to say about him, he played good this series. There's going to be no pandemic P. Hade, no playoff P. Hade at this very moment, because he actually produced. And that along with just other players just making the right plays, was able for to lead the Clippers past the Mavericks, especially in these last 2 games. Before we move on to the preview of the next series, I am going to hand out my awards for this series like I've done with the other ones. We're going to start off with MVP. And this one, if the Mavericks won, obviously it would have gone to Luka. But because the Clippers won, I'm going to have to give it to my main man, the fun guy himself, Finals MVP for this team over here, Kawhi Leonard, who was just phenomenal this entire series. 32 points a game, 8 rebounds, almost 5 assists, 61% from the field, 42% from 3, 89%, almost 90% from the free throw line, basically a 73% true shooting percentage. He was just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And I want to really go into this, because the difference between Kawhi and Luka in this series, and both play fantastic. Luka got the majority of his production in the first half, and then as the game went on, he kind of struggled because he had to do a lot of the heavy lifting early. Kawhi, on the other hand, kind of goes off to not like a slow start, but he kind of paces himself in the first half, and in the second half, bam, Kawhi just hits, and man, he was just absolutely phenomenal in the series on both ends of the floor, especially those last few games where I think he just put on a masterclass on both sides of the court, playing very good on the offensive end, and then coming back and defending Luka Doncic. You can't hate on him, man. Kawhi Leonard. Um, I'm gonna mention him later on in the episode as well. But man, this guy was like a fantastic player, and I have him as my MVP of this series. In terms of best bench, I mean this series was won on the backs of the starting lineups. But if I had to pick one guy to name the best bench player, and I know this is gonna sound weird, but I'm gonna give it to Terrence Mann. And you're gonna be like, he averaged 4 points a game, 3 rebounds. Why is he, considered for this award? For at least for my award here. Well, the biggest difference I think where it finally turned for the Clippers was when they took Zubac out the rotation, started Nicholas Batum at center, and they started using Terrence Mann because he just brought that energy. Maybe it didn't result in points production, maybe it didn't result in rebounds or something like that, but he brought that energy, and he was a massive part as to why the Clippers just were very good in that first half. I mean, he scored in double-digit points in the first half. He was hitting his shots. He just brought that energy, and he is not afraid to defend anyone, whether it's Luka, whether it's THJ. He's not afraid, and I think that was just very key to the Clippers' success and what helped them turn around the series, especially with the Mavericks playing the way they were. Terrence Mann was a big reason as to that energy boost that the Clippers needed, and he definitely delivered. Most disappointing, I think we will all see this coming. I got to give it to Kristaps Porzingis, man. The max contract dude who actually played really well in the regular season when he wasn't injured. I mean, 20 points and 9 rebounds. He was actually really good, and it really felt like he was starting to become that second star. Then the playoffs came around and just something happened. He was afraid of the paint. Post fadeaway after post fadeaway, jump shot after jump shot. He did not play well. 13 points a game, 5.5 rebounds a game, 47% from the field, under 30% from three, 57% true shooting percentage for a 7'3" guy who we believe to be, a tough inside presence. Not like an inside offensive presence, but he is a good rim protector, someone who can get inside, grab you rebounds. He really didn't do his job, and is raising a lot of concern within Mavericks fans and just NBA fans. Is this guy do we give this guy more time? I think I would give him a bit more time, but man, this playoff series was rough for him. For me, he is definitely the most disappointing. Then my favorite moment of the series, I had to give it to the Game 6 Kawhi, especially in that fourth quarter where he just hit shot after shot after shot. When it felt like the Mavs were getting back into it, Kawhi just went ballistic. And the reason I chose that as my favorite moment is because it reminded me of Raptors Kawhi. Arguably his best playoff game of his career. There are a few Raptor games I would beg to differ with, but man, he absolutely delivered. For me, him going off in that fourth quarter was definitely my favorite moment. Now we're gonna go on to the preview of the Jazz versus Clippers, and this series is going to be very, very interesting. This series will start tomorrow, 10 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be a quick turnaround for the LA Clippers, who just played Sunday. But now they're going up against a rested Jazz team who I believe closed out the series mid last week. So they had some time to rest. And what I'm going to be looking out for in this series is kind of how the Jazz how are they going to defend Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Because as seen in the series before, or at least at the near the beginning of the last series against the Dallas Mavericks, it was hard for them to get good production out of their other guys. And although they came through later in that series, they have not been they're just not very reliable. Let's say that, to say the very least. In comparison to this Jazz team, who, man, they're deep. This is a deep Jazz team who not only have Donovan Mitchell, obviously one of the most prolific young players in the league. You got people like Bojan Bogdanovic, you could drop 20 any night. Joe Ingles, 6 Man of the Year candidate. Derek Favors is a good backup big. Georges Niang, who's actually played pretty well this year. Royce O'Neal, Gobert. It's just a deep team. And what this team does so well is, one, like I mentioned before, just a very good three-point shooting team. But they're also just a significantly better defense than Dallas. The Clippers faced the Dallas team who, let's be honest, they're not known for their defensive prowess. Let's be real here. They got Luka Doncic. People thought that KP was going to be the anchor of that defense, but clearly not. and they were like 19th in defensive rating. Now you're going up against a top 5 defense. You're going up against a defensive player of the year candidate. It's going to be different. And I don't know if they're going to like stick with the small ball lineup that they've been using these last few games, but when you're going up against Rudy Gobert, he's just going to camp in that paint, and he's going to just completely deter anything that goes in there. But what the biggest advantage the Clippers have in the series is that they have the 2 best players. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are the 2 best players in the series. Maybe you'll give like the next 5 or 6 to the Utah Jazz, but in terms of the best 5, you gotta give it. In terms of the best 2, you gotta give it to Paul George and Kawhi. And I think that's gonna be a big reason as to why I believe a lot of people are gonna pick the Clippers in the series. Yes, they were in a battle with the Dallas Mavericks, but they got defeat under them. Kawhi has played like arguably the best player in the playoffs. And you're going up against a Utah team who still have a lot of question marks. I mean, they did beat the Memphis Grizzlies, and they did play well, especially at the latter half of that series. But we've known the struggles of Rudy Gobert staying on the court during the playoffs. Can Donovan Mitchell move himself into that upper echelon of NBA players like Devin Booker is doing on the Phoenix Suns? I mean, is he going to be able to do that, especially against a team where he's going to see a lot of Paul George, a lot of Kawhi Leonard like on him? Like, are they going to be able to outscore them, outmatch them? And a big key for the Jazz is to just hopefully the rest of their players around them do very, very well. Whether it's, Joe Ingles, Jordan Clarkson needs to play really well. Gobert needs to be a factor on the offensive end. These are the type of stuff you have to be looking at if you're the Jazz. And for the Clippers, I mean, there's a formula to beat this team in the past. Maybe this team is different. They got to watch out for the three-point shot. Just make sure you get Gobert in pick-and-roll situations. Try to bring him out the paint. That is the best chance they got in winning. I think this is going to be a very, very interesting series. And another factor that is not really being looked at is Mike Conley. I mean, Mike Conley was injured at the end of the series against Memphis. And I think this is the same injury that was kind of bothering him throughout the regular season. So he may be questionable for the series. If he's not 100%, that's another player that the Jazz desperately need to play well in order to get a victory against this team. I'll stand by the fact that I said before the series, I think the Clippers are different this year, that they're finally battle-tested. I think that they are finally figuring out what it takes to become a championship team, especially led by Kawhi Leonard. And that's why in the series, I'm taking the Clippers. I'm taking them in 6. I know, just that factor of having the 2 best players. Now they've gone through a war against Dallas. I think they're finally in that playoff mentality. Kawhi Leonard's been playing like the best player in the playoffs, in my opinion. And I just have so much questions of the Jazz team. I hope they prove me wrong. But right now, the Clippers, they're playing at a high level. Their supporting cast is at an all-time high confidence. And against this Jazz team, I mean, although they have a very, very deep team, a very good shooting team, I think the Clippers are going to be able to counteract that. Late in games, I do trust the Clippers more if it comes to a close game. But yeah, I'm going to take the Clippers in the series, and I'm going to take them in 6. It's going to be a fun series, though. It's definitely going to be a fun series. It's going to be extremely interesting to see just how to defend those 2 guys. And then if they can just get good all-around effort from their own players in terms of the Jazz. Now let's move on to the other games we're having this weekend, because some second-round matchups actually did start. Let's start off with the Nets-Bucks series. The Nets win Game 1, 105-107. Although it was an 8-point game, I'm gonna tell you right now, it wasn't very close. KD and Kyrie both did their thing. 28 points for KD and 29 points for KD, 25 for Kyrie. But in terms of this game, it's not gonna be remembered for what did in this game, but what the supporting cast did. More specifically, Blake Griffin, 18 points, 14 rebounds. He was fantastic in that game, also hitting 4 threes. Joe Harris, another great performance, 19 points in this one, 5 threes. Mike James off the bench, who played 30 minutes because, as we're going to get into a bit later, James Harden got injured and he had to play the majority of the guard minutes. He played well, 12 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. It was just a great all-around, just a great supporting cast effort from the Brooklyn Nets, which helped lead them to victory. On the Bucks side of things, Giannis played very well. 2 threes in this one. He was actually pretty efficient from there. 16 for 24 shooting, 34 points, 11 rebounds. he was just great. He was just great this game, but the problem is Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton both struggled pretty badly. Drew Holiday really couldn't get it going from the field. He only hit 2 threes. And then Chris Middleton, 13 points, 13 rebounds, 6 for 23 shooting. Yeah, that was rough. And a big reason why the Bucks just couldn't win this game is that the guys that usually do hit threes just couldn't hit them today. They just couldn't. 6 for 30 shooting compared to 15 of 39 for the Brooklyn Nets. In today's NBA, if you're getting dominated at the 3-point line, let's be honest, you're losing this game. And yeah, the Nets get a good win. What's really good about this for them is that it was a supporting cast that really helped out, especially after Harden went down. KD and Kyrie did their thing, but they weren't, they weren't just the sole reason why they won this. It was the other guys around them. And as for the Milwaukee Bucks, I was talking about this with someone on Instagram. They still are showing some of those tendencies from years past where it's very iffy, like their end of game scenarios. They're people that can create their own shot. It's still kind of iffy in those ISO type scenarios. But I believe, going into the next game, if they can just get back near their average to for 3-point shooting, I think they have a good chance of winning. And I think that it just will unlock their offense even more. And I think that will just get Chris Middleton going, Drew Holiday going. It's just that the three wasn't falling for them today. And I think that was something that really hindered them into winning this game. But let's talk about James Harden because, oh boy, this guy literally, I think he played 30 seconds. He played 30 seconds in this game. I think he dumped the pass down low. It was a kind of a jump pass. And then afterwards, he landed and he looked like he pulled a hamstring. Yeah, that's definitely the injury. He pulled a hamstring, and he left the game. He literally played 30 seconds, and then he left the game, which you could tell from after the game, Steve Nash, KD, and all them, they're like, yeah, this sucks. This guy really, really wanted to help out the team, and these type of injuries just absolutely suck. And, of course, we're wishing him the best. And according to reports, he is going to be out this next game too. So, they're used to this. One player being out for the Nets is something that they've been used to all season long. But going up against the Milwaukee Bucks in the playoffs, it's going to be very, very dangerous. Especially because, they did not shoot well. They did not shoot well, and I think that will start to average out. I don't think they're going to shoot that badly again in the next game. So they're going to be up for a huge fight next game, especially with no James Harden from the beginning. They're going to need similar production. Not similar production, but just good production from the guys around KD and Kyrie, because we know they're going to deliver. They're going to deliver, but it's about the other guys that they can take them from a team here to a team here, and that's going to be able to lead them to victory. And as for the Bucks, hit your threes. Giannis continue to be aggressive. There's no one in that paint that can handle you whatsoever. And then Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday. Those are the two guys that Bucks fans, NBA fans are looking to create their own shot at the end of games. And they weren't able to do so, or not even at the end of games, just throughout the game, when they need a bucket. And they haven't been able to do that game one. I think they'll be able to bounce back game two. But yeah, the Nets beat the Bucks game one. Game two, I believe, is tonight. So it's something to definitely look out for. It's going to be a fun game. Now let's move on to the Sox 76ers game. And oh boy, there's a lot to break down here. The Atlanta Hawks upset the Sixers in game one, winning 128 to 124. I do want to start with the 76ers first because Embiid did come back from injury from his minor torn meniscus. Again, it just doesn't sound right with me. But he came back. He played really good. 39 points, 9 rebounds, 12 for 21 shooting, 14 for 15 from free throw line. It honestly looked like he didn't miss a step. He was absolutely fantastic. And then Seth Curry chipped in 21, Tobias Harris for 20. And a big reason why this game was even close is because, oh boy, actually, let's talk about it later. Let's save it. Because on the Hawks side of things, especially in the first half, they were on fire. They were absolutely amazing. Trae Young, another fantastic game. 35 points, 2 rebounds, 10 assists. John Collins at 21 points, which helped out a lot. And then Bogdan Bogdanovic, 21 points. With Kevin Huerter coming off the bench and scoring 15. And we're going to skip all the way to near the end of this game because this was a blowout. This looked like it was going to be a blowout. The biggest lead the Hawks had in this game was 26 points. And they looked like they were just dancing on the 76ers' grave in that game. Trae Young playing well, Bogdanovich playing well. It felt like everyone was hitting their shots. This game looked like it was over for like the first, for the majority. I mean, like the first like 42 minutes of this game, it looked like the Hawks were gonna win by like 15 plus. But then those final 6 minutes, the 76ers came roaring back. They were hitting threes. They were getting into the paint. They were dominating. And then the defensive end, these double teams, these traps, forcing turnover after turnover. The Hawks didn't know what hit them. I mean, if you just remember the end of this game, there was the Kevin Huerter call a timeout with a minute left, and they had no more timeouts. There was the 5-second violation. There was the Trae Young turnover, and this all led to either and-ones, easy dunks, easy layups, and free throws. And what was a 20-plus point game lead was like 2 points at one point. It got really that close, and it looked like the Hawks were going to choke it. It really did. Even when they extended the lead to 8, they still turned the ball over. It got down to 4. Like, it felt like this game was not over, and I was all for it. But once again, this thing that the 76ers have been facing is coming back to haunt them. Because when they were going on that run, when they got to under 10, when they got to under 5, you know what the Hawks did? Hackasimmons. Hackasimmons made a return, and oh boy, this guy was like, I think it was like 1 for 4 on free throws. And when like all the momentum was on the 76ers side, it was just halted because Ben Simmons just couldn't hit his free throws. And again, that was a big problem. But what I like about this game and going into the next game is that we could see that intensity from the 76ers. Embiid played well. He got some good help, but they need a bit more from them. And it gets this like high octane offense in the Atlanta Hawks. They're gonna need everyone to show up because those last 6 minutes in that fourth quarter, we saw an intensity. We saw, offensive aggression. We saw what made the 76ers the 76ers show out in that final 6 minutes of the fourth quarter. And what they need to do is play like that for a full 48 minutes. Not the trapping, not all that. But they need to play, with like some sort of intensity throughout the entire game because they looked down and out of it for like a good chunk until those final 6 minutes. As for the Hawks, although they almost gave up the lead, they still played very well. They ended up getting the win, so no matter what, this is still a win in their column. And one of the biggest things here is just to like kind of work on late game execution. They were just turning the ball over. They were committing silly fouls. They like their mistakes helped the 76ers get back into it. And they're going to have to be prepared because this 76ers defense is swarming. Absolutely swarming. And when you got guys like Thibault, Harris, who's a solid defender, Ben Simmons, one of the best defenders, all of them like just chasing after you, there's gonna be high pressure situations, and they're gonna have to find ways to get themselves out of it. But one thing I really liked from this game, Trae Young, no matter who was on him, he was cooking. He was absolutely cooking. They tried throwing Danny Green on him, not a problem. They tried throwing Seth Curry on him, not a problem. They tried Matisse Thybulle, no problem. And then Ben Simmons. I mean, I think when Ben Simmons was put on him, like Trae Young drew like 2 fouls or something like that, just because like, he's just a lot quicker than Ben. So yeah, it really does feel like one-on-one, it's like impossible to guard Trae Young. And Trae Young just needs to, I guess, like going into the next game, just expect more traps, expect more doubles. Because in that second half, one of the biggest adjustments the 76ers made was trapping Trae Young and getting the ball out of his hands. But the problem with that was, I mean, with that being said, I mean, at least the Hawks players were hitting their shots. And that was a big reason why they were able to extend the lead and such. But Trae Young, I know he trusts his teammates. He has to continue to do so. And just work on, like, trying to get open off ball. I mean, if he wants to get himself to the next level, he needs to learn how to get off ball, kind of like Steph Curry when defenses are focused on him. He needs to he has to find ways to get open off ball. I think that's the next step in Trae Young's game because although he's a point guard, one of the best passers in the league, they're going to need some times where they're going to need a bucket from him, and he has to get it by all means necessary, and that means working off ball as well. But yeah, this was a very, very entertaining game. I mean, for the first 3 quarters and a half, it really wasn't because the Hawks were just dominating. But the 76ers came back. it's good to know that Embiid is still is playing very well. It's good to know that the 76ers have that in them to come back in the game, but now they just have to start. They have to start playing like that from minute one. So, good win for the 76ers. Hopefully they can continue that momentum. And as for them, I mean, find ways to trap Trae Young. If I'm them, I'm not even putting Danny Green on him. Just try to use Thibault and Simmons. But hopefully the series is just as entertaining as this one, because man, this was a damn good game. But yeah, those are the games from this weekend. Those are the series. And that was the Dallas Mavericks series I mentioned earlier. Just let me know down below what you guys think of the games this weekend. I'll definitely debate you in the comment section. And like I said, just shoot me a DM if you want to talk some basketball. But before we head out, I'm trying not to make this too long because my last episode there was a lot to talk about. But in this one, it's not going to be as much. We're going to end this episode with some first round awards. The first round has concluded, and I'm going to give out 5. Yeah, I'm going to give out 5 awards here. The MVP, which is the best player in the first round. The best bench player in the first round. The Finals LeBron Award, which is basically the best player on a losing team. Most disappointing, and then breakout star. 5 awards here, and I'm going to try and just give like a little spiel on each. Not too long, but I'm going to just give out some awards to end today's episode. And we're going to start here. Do we start with the MVP? Yeah, I'm going to start with the MVP because I did talk about this guy already. I was going to give it to Nikola Jokic, who was absolutely phenomenal in these playoffs. I mean, the way that he was able to pick off that defense of the Trailblazers in that series was fantastic, especially because Nikola Jokic averaged over 33 points a game, 50, 40, 90. It could have easily gave it to him. But in terms of pressure situations and what his team needed from him, I got to give MVP to Kawhi Leonard. And I'm not going to go too long on this because I did talk about him a lot earlier. But the way he played, especially in these last 2 closeout games, learning to be a playmaker, hitting those big shots when they needed him to, he came through when his team was in dire need, and he's the one who performed the best. I do truly believe that he was the best player in that first round, and that is why he won my MVP. Now he led his team to the second round series. I mean, there were many times in that series where the Clippers were down. I mean, 2-0, then 3-2. And Kawhi was a big reason, kind of like shades of that Raptors run, where he was just the best player on the court, and he was able just to, will them to victory on both sides of the ball. So my MVP will have to go to Kawhi Leonard. Now we're going to go to the best bench player, six man of the first round, whatever you want to call it. I could have easily give it to Jordan Clarkson again, kind of like how I could have easily given it to Nikola Jokic for MVP. But this guy actually produced, and especially in the later parts of the series, and he was fantastic for the Denver Nuggets. I got to give it to Monte Morris. Monte Morris was fantastic in that first round. He closed out games for the Nuggets, and he averaged, 15 points a game, 6 assists, over 40% from 3. I mean, he just did it all. When Jokic couldn't handle the ball, Monte Morris was just making the right plays at the right time. And he just hit big shots in order to help the Nuggets get these victories. The supporting cast was great for the Nuggets in general, but Monte Morris coming off the bench, especially with their guards being injured, and Will Barton, PJ Dozier, Jamal Murray, someone had to step up from that backcourt, and Monte Morris did. He played like the best backcourt player, even though he came off the bench. He was their best backcourt player, the Denver Nuggets. So Monte Morris, he is my best bench player. For the Finals LeBron award, which is the best player on the losing team, can I give it to 2 guys? I mean, it's really hard for me not to, but I'm going to talk about both of them either way. I think I'm going to give it to this guy either way, but I'm going to shout out the other person I have in mind. I mean, we're going to start with Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic, 35 points, almost 36 points a game, over 10 assists, 8 rebounds, 49% from the field, 41% from 3. It's just the free throws that really killed him in this series, but man, Luka was just magnificent. He did a lot of the carrying, especially because the other guys really couldn't step up. I'm really happy with what Luka was able to do, just take his game to a whole new level. And you could tell after that game yesterday, he was not satisfied. He said, I never won anything. I haven't proven anything yet. He needs to be a winner. And I think he has the mentality the Dallas Mavericks see how special Luka Doncic is, there's going to be some major changes, and I hope to see the Mavs contend for a title very, very soon because this guy is special, man. He is very, very special. And the way he's just able to like just take over games, win games on his own, Luka Doncic is just absolutely amazing. Speaking of carrying teams, I mean, this guy lost in 6 games, but I do have to shout him out. Damian Lillard, 34 points a game, 10 assists, 46% from the field, 45% from 3, 94% at the free throw line. Once again, same to Luka Doncic, he just didn't get enough help. He just did not get enough help in this series. Everyone's going to look to Game 5, man. Game 5, that Damian Lillard 55-point performance, which is a clear indication that whatever the Trailblazers have done is just not good enough for the caliber of player Damian Lillard is. He should be competing for titles. A player of his caliber should be competing for titles. And the roster that he has, the coach that he has, which I will be discussing right now. I mean, Terry Stotts did get fired, so I don't know who's going to be the next coaches. I know Jason Kidd apparently turned down the job as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the moves, what type of moves not Damian Lillard, the Trailblazers make this offseason, because he played amazing and they get swept. They lost in 6 games to a Denver Nuggets team who lost 3 of their guards in the regular season. So lots of changes need to be made. Damian Lillard is amazing. He definitely deserves some love for this award. Let's just say it's a tie. Co-winners: Luka Doncic, Damian Lillard. Most disappointing player, I'm going to reiterate once again, Kristaps Porzingis. I could have gave it to Julius Randle, but it is his first playoff series. I'm going to give him a break. Kristaps just needed a good game. He just needed a good game in this series for, especially in one of those losses, for them to win. And he really couldn't deliver. 13 points a game, 5 rebounds. I went through this. He did not play well. He's a max contract guy, and he has a lot of question marks going into next season. I want to see him do well. He was one of my favorite players, like when he was on the New York Knicks, to watch in the league. I mean, he was just so fun to watch. He needs to become a second star for this team, or if they bring in a second star, he has to be the third guy. He just needs to be. Luka needs help. Luka needs help, and Porzingis was the guy brought in to do so, and he didn't deliver. He just did not deliver. And yeah, it sucked. He really did play bad in that series. For me, he is my most disappointing player award, or you could even call it the playoff P award. You know, the pandemic P award, whatever you want to call it, man. Whatever. Now we're gonna go on to the breakout star of the first round, and you know you could give it to a pretty big name. I mean, I don't want to say that Luka broke out, but this guy looked like he was a top 4 NBA player. You could give it to Devin Booker, who just took his game up to a whole new level. But I'm going to give it to Devin Booker's teammate. I'm going to give it to DeAndre Ayton. Because in this series, although his numbers weren't like that much different than his regular season numbers, I mean, his points production went up by like 1.5 points per game. His rebounds went up a bit. But what was key in this series for DeAndre Ayton is that he just played very well against Anthony Davis, and he kind of competed when he was on the court. Yes, Anthony Davis is obviously better in Game 2 and Game 3, but DeAndre Ayton, stuck with him. He stuck with him, and he was extremely, extremely efficient. Almost 80% from the field. Very good on the defensive end. He hit his shots on the offensive end. His free throws do need a bit of work. I know he's a good free throw shooter, but he did not do that very well in the first round. But he played great. And I think that this is the type of improvement you want to see coming out of your number 1 pick. Because although Chris Paul was arguably your first or second best player, he was only there to help kind of improve the other guys around him, which he has done. I mean, DeAndre Ayton is definitely a better basketball player now. But DeAndre Ayton needs to just improve his productivity, and round 1 is a good start. Now he has a tough assignment going up against Mr. He goes from guarding Anthony Davis for most of the game. Now he's guarding the MVP, Nikola Jokic. So, yeah, this is going to be definitely interesting for him next round. But for me, he is the first round breakout star because he just, like, at times, he was the Suns' best players, and he was able to just play very, very well. Obviously, he had that, 3 games over 20 points, extremely efficient. This guy was just great. And for me, he was my breakout star of the first round. But yeah, those are the 5 winners. Let me know down below whether you agree or disagree. Would you have Jokic over Kawhi? Would you have Jordan Clarkson over Monty Morris? Let me know down below. But I think this is where we're going to end today's episode. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to follow at TV on Basketball on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for updates on the podcast and for other content. Remember to show love on all the podcast channels. Like, share, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. And also hit the notification bell. And yeah, just want to thank you guys for all the support. One last thank you for sticking around with me for 200 episodes. For me, this 200 episodes, I don't look at the numbers, the downloads, the views, or whatever as kind of a goal for myself. I mean, I do set goals. I do try to work hard on this podcast and stuff. But this is something I've stuck with for the last 2.5 years, and having this commitment towards something, and just by loving what I'm doing, I think it's just a big thing for me. And it's just a good outlet for me to talk about what I love, which is basketball. And thank you guys for whoever's listening. Just thank you for your listens. For the people in the community I've become friends with, who I've collabed with, thank you guys for the support. And yeah, just expect a lot more good things. I'm going to definitely try to improve the podcast in any way possible. Different ways to give out content. Just learn more and more about social media and how I can improve this page. We've eclipsed 1,000 followers. We're at almost 40 subscribers on YouTube. Almost 3,000 listens on the pod. I mean, there's just a lot of things I've already reached, and I'm super, super happy that I've been able to do so. I do love what I'm doing right here. Even as a hobby, whether it's just working on this during the pandemic. This has really helped me a lot. I do want to thank those who are listening and just supported me along this journey. And I'm here for the long haul, man. I'm definitely here for the long haul. There's a lot still I want to accomplish. There's still a lot more I want to do here. And basketball's not stopping, man. But there's always going to be a lot of stuff to talk about in the off season, the playoffs, regular season. I'm all for it, and I'm going to continue to use this platform to continue to talk about that, to continue to talk about other issues like I've done in the past. I'm just continue to do me. And again, thank you guys for all the support. Whoever wants to stick around, but if you can, share it with your friends. Bring more people onto to listen to the pod. Let's help grow this community. I really do appreciate all of you, and hopefully we can continue to grow, as a group, and hopefully we can see more and more progress throughout the years. So, yeah, thank you guys for all the support. I think this, like I said, this is where we're gonna end this. Hope you all have a fantastic day. TV signing out. Thank you guys again. 200 episodes. Take it easy, guys. Peace.